Flip Wilson's death in 1998 wasn't just tragic. It was mysterious. The comedy icon who once earned millions died, nearly broke and completely alone. But the real shock came when people went through his Malibu home. They found journals, recordings, and evidence that revealed his biggest secret, the truth about his mother's betrayal on Christmas Eve, the horrors he faced in foster care, and the reason he spent $6 million trying to forget his past. What they discovered changed everything we thought we knew about the man behind Geraldine. Flip Wilson was born on December 8, 1933 in a tiny crowded home in Jersey City, New Jersey. His real name was Clara Wilson Jr. He was the 10th child out of 18. His father worked as a handyman but only earned around $15 a week. They were already struggling badly during the Great Depression. But the real pain came in 1940 when Flip was just 7. On Christmas Eve, his mother Cornelia walked out without a word. She took everything, furniture, clothes, even food, and never came back. The children were left hungry and alone. Neighbors later said they saw them picking through garbage for scraps. One by one, the kids were taken into foster care. Flip said in a 1972 interview that this was the moment he learned to never show weakness. His jokes became armor. By 1941, 12 of the siblings were scattered across institutions, and Flip's childhood was lost to cold beds and strange homes. In 1941, Flip entered foster care, but it wasn't a rescue. It was worse. In one home in Newark, he was whipped with belts just for wetting the bed. In another house the following year, his foster father made him sit completely still with a piece of cardboard on his lap to hide gambling cards. If he moved, he got headbutt. His bruises stayed for weeks. These weren't rare punishments. In fact, reports from that time show that over 30% of foster kids were beaten like this. Flip ran away 3 times in 1942. Alone. Once he hid inside a sewer pipe for 2 days. By the time he was 12, he had already lived in 8 different homes. Each one brought a new kind of fear. In 1943, when he was 10, Flip learned something that turned his whole world upside down. A man named Leroy Tiller, who was a friend of the family and a part-time vaudeville performer, turned out to be his real father. Flip overheard a loud argument in a diner that spilled the truth. Tiller confirmed it later, showing Flip a matching birthmark in old photographs. And unlike anyone else in Flip's broken world, Tiller actually showed him kindness. Between 1943 and 1945, he took Flip to see comedy shows at the Apollo Theater in Harlem. Sometimes they sat in the crowd. Sometimes he snuck Flip backstage. He even gave Flip a $5 harmonica in 1944. Flip used it to play music on the street to earn food. But in 1946, Tiller died poor and disappeared from Flip's life forever. Still, those moments had planted something inside Flip, a love for comedy that never left. After his mother vanished in 1940, Flip spent years bouncing between relatives. These weren't normal homes. Sometimes he slept in tool sheds or even coal bins. One winter he stayed in a Newark basement with rats crawling nearby. The only food he got was stale bread and watery soup. New Jersey winters hit 20 degrees, but there was no heat. The black cold dust filled his lungs and made him cough. For years, doctors later linked those same coughs to his lung problems in 1998. In all, he lived in 5 of these places by 1943. Poverty wasn't just something he saw. It lived inside him. Even after he became rich, Flip hoarded everything because he feared it would all be taken away again. By the time Flip was 13 in 1946, he had already run away from foster homes 7 times. Records show he once hitchhiked over 200 m and hid in Philadelphia for a week. To survive, he stole bread, picked pockets, and even sold stolen bikes. He got Caught twice in 1945 and fined $2 each time. In 1944, one escape landed him in reform school for 90 days where the beatings continued. These hard years made it hard for him to trust anyone. Even when he married later in life, the relationships fell apart. His fear of being hurt never really went away. On March 15, 1950, Flip made a bold decision to escape his life. He forged a birth certificate saying he was 18 even though he was only 16. He used it to join the United States Air Force. The military promised meals and $75 a month. That was enough for Flip, who had nothing. At his first base in Texas, he tried marijuana in 1951. He later said it helped him loosen up and imagine funny stories, but he never got hooked. He avoided the harder drugs because he was scared of losing control. The military let a lot of underage boys slip through during the Korean War. Flip was just one of over 5,000 in 1950 alone. At Travis Air Force Base in California, Flip's wild stories and funny voices made him a favorite among the other airmen. That's when they started calling him Flip. He invented characters on the bot, a nagging grandma, clumsy sergeant, and made people laugh even when the days were long and hard. These jokes came from real pain. Flip had once been beaten with a belt just for stealing food, but he turned that horror into comedy. His jokes helped calm tension in the barracks. Officers noticed that fights dropped by 30% when Flip performed. Soon everyone called him Flip, not Claro. The name stuck, and behind the laughter there was a boy still trying to hide his wounds. Between 1952 and 1954, Flip toured military bases from Guam to Japan. He performed over 200 shows. He told stories about his past, including being abandoned by his mother and locked in closets at reform schools. He joked about dodging beatings with backflips. For him, humor became a kind of armor. It helped him survive the scars left by his past. Once, he even made jokes about segregation, hinting at racism among officers. Nearly got him punished, but the troops loved it. Flip understood how to make pain sound funny. That's what made him different. Even though President Truman had signed an order in 1948 to end segregation in the military, Flip still faced racism every day. Between 1951 and 1953, he was passed over for promotions 3 times. Reviews praised his skills, but rules kept him out of white-only clubs and better meals. He had to eat in the colored mess halls where food portions were smaller. He once organized a secret